Welcome to Curating Collage for Visual Journals. So collage, the word at its very basic, most bare bones, means to cut and glue. And it's been around for forever. But it became popularized in the art world with Picasso and Braque as they incorporated, they're really the first mixed media artists, right? They started using paint and gluing and cutting and gluing papers and fabrics into their artworks and onto their canvases. And for me, collage is drawing with scissors. It is painting with papers, right? And so it's taking all of those things that you've cut, and you're still thinking about composition. You're still thinking about balance. You're still thinking about the ideas of rhythm and repetition, right? So here I have, I painted a background with watercolor, and then I had these different flowers. I am a cutter outer. I love to collect images. So I had found all of these things, and then for me, I lay them down on the page and start playing, right? So I'd cut out and collected different things, put them down. The words in here, there is a quote, and then there are my reflections that go with it. So this one has more of an artwork type feel, more composed, right? Collage, again, here, these pieces came from a catalog about for art teachers. So all different books and art resources that I could call and order. On this page, cutting out from catalogs for ordering flowers. And the pattern and repetition within the photographs advertising buy this bulb just really appealed to me. I cut them out, and then what am I going to do with them? Well, they go in an envelope for a while, and then eventually I start to organize them. Collage is not limited to cutting out from magazines or construction paper. This is a piece of paper towel that was painted and then glued in. I could have cut it into form beforehand, but I liked the juxtaposition of the blue and sort of sky-like with my stargazer. This incorporates one of my, never thought I'd be a glitter person, but when glitter comes in Mod Podge, man, I love this stuff. Comes in silver and gold. So there's some glitter on there, right? So thinking not just limiting yourself to magazines, but other things. I tend to clean off my brush on a paper towel, and then what happens to it later. Papers. A lot of us are scrapbookers who, old time scrapbooking, physical scrapbooking, we had lots of different papers that we put into the back of into the back and a background of a scrapbook page that you then put photographs on. Well, you were collaging, right? So these are some papers that were cut up. Here I went with geometric. It's, again, abstract. This is a piece of vellum from scrapbooking that had the "Believe in Yourself" printed on it, right? And then, again, not limiting ourselves in what can be collaged. So the juxtaposition of race bibs from 5K runs to the contour line drawing of my shoes and a quote that I hand wrote, right? So in a journal, it's not, you know, this is not necessarily what I'd expect to see on a museum wall, right? But in a journal, this has meaning. This has something that I come back to and I think about. I think about the steps. I think about the emotions. I think about the feeling of the shoes, right? Of the idea, and it comes back together. And so that collage in a visual journal is meaningful. Resources. Even in coronavirus times, there are still some free magazines out there. So I find this Nova Dog magazine at a lot of grocery stores, some of the pet stores. So finding both words and images in the magazines. While we don't get a lot of catalogs, I still get a couple of them. Take the name off of there. Don't want to send that out. So Northern Virginia magazine, this is regional, right? You clearly know that I'm holding on to this because it's all about coffee, and I'm going to be cutting out pictures of coffee, and I'm going to be finding words about coffee. Lettering is fascinating and can be incorporated into a page. Different shapes, reflections, phrases that are going to pop out to you. Again, textures and patterns that come up because of the photographs that you're seeing, different perspectives, right? If you're into different things, you're going to look for and collect from magazines that come into your home that are going to reflect who you are. So I had some donations of magazines because I was short on them, and these have been fun because they've got, again, with all the colors of letters, the style of letters, numbers that you might not have thought about but might be something that you want to include. Finding pages, you want to find a variety of things and sort of collect. This page just makes me happy as is. You know, I want to cut out each one of these things individually, but also this page here, look at that texture there. The texture on this cake, right? Glued into a collage, it might not be read as a cake anymore. It might be the wall of a building. I don't know, but both yummy from a food standpoint and yummy from a visual standpoint. So I have been sorting my words into an envelope. I have some just sort of shapes. These are my foods and objects, my things. Here I have people. I think flowers must be in there. And then I have a selection of larger pieces that could function as backgrounds. So I used part of this one, but it still had some left. That was really great. But this could be glued to a page and then things happen around it, right? So I've got a variety of sizes. I love this, and this is a background. So as you're going along, starting to think about what kind of images call to you. When you're paging through, is there something that shouts out to you? I tend to cut out a lot of yoga poses, exercise poses. And this one's not cut out all the way to the edges, but I frequently have been cutting out carefully around the edges, so that when I'm ready to do a collage, I can pull pieces out of the envelopes and scatter them on the page and start to work. I am loyal to this pair of scissors. These scissors have been around for over 12 years now. These are the scissors I use to trim the dog. These are the scissors I use to cut the flowers. These are the scissors that I use for cutting paper. An X-Acto knife, not necessary, but can be very helpful, especially if you've got some really tricky, thin lines that you want to get into. That can be helpful. They're really basic. As for glue, you can glue things down with Mod Podge. It also functions as a sealer over top. I do some gluing with the gel medium, the matte gel medium. It can be brushed on, or I can use a palette knife, or if you've got a gift card that's expired, you can scrape it on. Elmer's glue. This Yoo-Hoo twist glue is one of my favorites. I've been having problems finding it. I know I bought it at Michael's originally, but I haven't been able to find it in the stores, but you can find it on Amazon. Wet glues, you do need to be careful when you're working, because they will cause thin magazine paper to wrinkle. So that's a visual thing to be considering. If you're worried about the wrinkle, then you probably want to use a glue stick. I still have not found a glue stick that makes me happy. These are the closest things to a glue stick that make me happy. I also like these because they travel well in my travel purse bag, art bag. So it's just it's a glue that goes on blue, and you know that it has dried when it turns clear, and it's just got the little felt tip. It's like a marker there. This is the same concept, right? There's several different brands of it. And there's even somewhere, and I don't know where mine is right now, there's one that's a very fine point. It looks like a ballpoint pen, felt tip pen. Man, that one just got all over everything. So those are some of the tools that I use for collage. And I'll do a soul collage, sort of vision collage lesson, but I would like to encourage you to start collecting. If you get museum catalogs, if you get cooking magazines, if your neighbor gets some that you don't, there's also, you can find some fun things in the weekly coupons. So if you've got a food or a store, you can find some fun things in there. But I would just encourage you to start collecting a wide variety of words, text, and images, and then find some storage technique that works for you. These are literally, look, it was the water bill, and I just took the envelope and hung on to it. So find a way to keep them together. And then other materials you might collect and hang on to would be things like tissue paper, that come in packages, packing paper. One of my favorite hobbies is going to Trader Joe's, and they frequently have stickers. Stickers can be collaged. What else do I have in here? Oh, some scraps of tissue paper from some projects that I had. Again, like I mentioned, the paper towels. So these are paper towels that I've just been using, and I keep using and using over and over. These would be fun to cut into, like, I could see a flower here or an abstract animal. So to start creating a collection, oh, maps. Maps are fun. So maybe think about getting a map if you do some traveling. Technically, we can collage plants. You want them to be really dry. So this one has been drying for a very long time, this tulip tree leaf. If it's wet still, if it has moisture in it, the moisture will cause it to crack and mold, which you don't want. So you want the moisture to be out of it. So if you like pressing flowers, pressing leaves, I have sketchbooks that I open up and poof, in the middle of my sketchbook, there is a random leaf. This is another thing that I saved to collage at some point. Maybe it's a book cover, I don't know yet. This was at the bottom of a bag, and I picked cherries, and the bottom layer of cherries oozed onto the paper, and where the cherries were sitting, it stayed white, and then the dark was the ring around it. I rinsed it off so it's not sticky anymore, let it dry, and now that can be collaged. More stickers. Oh, I mean, these things too. This was a paper that I was testing out markers on. Totally could cut this up into something, right? So I know I save way too many things. Sometimes you might find that cards that you don't know what to do with might make something of a good collaging thing. So possibly looking through those. Be creative in your collage collecting and hunting, and start creating. I sat and it was meditative the other day to just cut. I think I cut out magazine pictures for like an hour, and time just was gone because it was just sort of zen and meditative to do that. So enjoy some collage curating. So starting to create your collection of collage materials. So have fun.